How's it going, my friends? Thanks for joining us again on this PSM mini masterclass where we're talking about all the elements of PSM. To kick us off, we're going to talk about applicability. Now, technically, applicability is not one of the 14 elements of PSM, but it's the right place to start, and I'll tell you why. Because not every facility falls under PSM. So you might be wondering, oh man, does my facility fall under PSM? That's a great question. And there's a really nice, simple way to find out. And that is, if you take a dive at what the applicability guidelines are, then you'll know, right? So we'll walk through some of those right here. Just so you know, we have built a complimentary screener so that you can go, you can find it on our website. It's a free screener where you go and you just put in a few simple details, answer 5 questions about your facility, and then it will tell you whether or not it falls under PSM. And that way, you can know right off the bat if you need to worry about all the other elements of PSM. And if not, then it'll fall under some other way to document your safety systems. But PSM is meant to be something that applies to companies that are manufacturing or storing highly hazardous chemicals. And so let's just dive right in and walk through what that means. Okay, so first, if you have a facility that is in the oil and gas space, and it's just a drilling facility, then it's not considered a PSM, okay? Or solely a production facility, it's not considered PSM. What I mean by production is an oil well, an oil or gas well, and it's typically those are small facilities and they're remote. And even if they have, a good quantity of flammable material, they're not considered PSM just because they are strictly a drilling and production operation. So if that's you, then you can just you fall under some other governing body and it's not PSM, so congratulations. Then another question to answer is whether or not if you're not a production facility but you still have a lot of flammable material like fuel, some other hydrocarbon material, but if you are strictly a retail facility, likewise you are not under the guidelines of process safety management. And so the great example of this is gas stations, right? There's a huge inventory of highly flammable material at a gas station, but because it is strictly a retail facility, it does not fall under PSM. Another question to answer is, do you have highly hazardous chemicals that are on site? Like maybe you don't have these traditional hydrocarbons that we've been talking about so far, but you have other highly hazardous chemicals. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, OSHA's got a really nice list of those highly hazardous chemicals, plus they have the thresholds. And so, depending on the reactivity or toxicity of a chemical, if it's something really nasty, then a very small quantity would trip the threshold and it would put you under PSM. But if something that's slightly more mild, maybe you can have more of it on site without being PSM. So what we recommend is you can either dig through and find that on OSHA's website, but still in the screener that we built that I referred to already, you can go there and we have the list and we have the threshold chemicals. And so if you're wondering, it's a really nice in survey format. You can just step through the questions and you'll know whether or not you're PSM. So we recommend doing it on our website. If not, then feel free to contact us and we can tell you where everything comes from. But so let's say you have a facility and it does have a high quantity of highly hazardous or flammable substances, but it's remote or normally unoccupied. Now, OSHA PSM does not define that in their regulation, but if you look at what industry accepts, what's like a generally accepted good practice in defining what's normally unoccupied or remote, then you have to answer some questions about what your peer companies are doing and what what everyone else has kind of accepted. So what I mean by that is if you have a high quantity of hazardous substance, but it's like in the middle of the desert, then it might not fall under PSM, right? So we would treat that differently than if you had a huge inventory that's like right next to an elementary school and right next to like a big subdivision type of thing. So it's treated differently. And then also, if the facility is remote, but it's like manned 24/7 and you have a lot of people on site, then it still could be under PSM. And that's treated differently if you have a facility that's in the middle of the desert, but people only go there once a week or very seldom or very irregularly. And again, that definition of what it means to be manned or unmanned depends on your industry, and we can help with that. And again, we have some discussion about that when you go to our screener and you walk through that. But in a nutshell, if you have a facility that's in the middle of nowhere and people generally don't go there, then odds are it's not PSM. Okay. But again, any question about that, we dive deeper into the different industries that this commonly applies to and some specific scenarios. We dive deeper into that in our full masterclass. And so again, we invite you to check that out. But also, if you have some lingering questions, then feel free to contact us and schedule a consult. Again, I'll point you to like the applicability questionnaire that we have on our website. So check that out too. And so that's where we start with PSM, is understanding, does it even apply? So thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video.